All right. Hello. Welcome. Let me zoom this in so we can move it over here, get the repeating effect. Haha. Get this kind of where we want that to be. How's everybody doing? I hope you all are doing well. Let's get this set. So you might, let's see. I'm gonna make that go away. We got the live stream happening here. Yay. Let me pause that. Say greetings. So it's a little discombobulating around here, I'll be honest. There's a lot going on. But I want to keep doing these live streams as much as I can, and hopefully these will be worthwhile. That's my hope. Now, I don't need this, I don't believe, because this has a keyboard to it so that I can... So we can see what's going on here. Yes. We're going to be playing with Del Norte. We're getting closer to being done. We have all of these different categories of sounds. I have a lot of sounds to make this coming 4 days, 5 days. But I'll show you where we're at. Some of these patches need some additional finalizing help. So I'm going to show you some of the things that I do to finalize patches so that they have that vibe. And I'll do it the best I can. This is probably the last week with these earbuds, by the way. The 64 audio in earbuds have shown up. So I can't wait. I'll be picking those up this week. And I will be sharing with you guys what those are like probably next week. Let me put links here. Wow, it still hasn't started the chat here. Go to the live stream on YouTube here. And we'll just close that window. Let's get Facebook knowing that we're here real quick. I'll be with you guys in a second. Just gotta wait while I do my housekeeping stuff. On Facebook. And this is Rack. There, and on the stay on this page. Let's do this. I go too fast and it doesn't show the thumbnail, so let's try this one more time. There. Go to plugin guru and leave this page. It's all acting out. I'm confusing my computer. Not anything new. All right. Publishy. Ah, sugoi. Then go back here. Did they? I don't think it showed up here, right? Nope. So. Oh, by the way, I got to share this with you guys. Check this out. I'll pop this link up so you see how do I do this. Open, copy. Let's do this. Open in a new window. This is some of the coolest time-lapse video footage I have ever seen. Which it takes, you know, I've seen a lot of time lapses that are interesting and so forth, but this was extremely cool in that, let's see, how do I post it? Check this out. This guy works on a boat, a cargo ship boat, right? I can just show a second of this. Oh, come on, don't do this. Hide. Go. I have way too much going on over here. Go away. I would like to show this to you guys for a second. This is really cool. This is, it's a 30-day time lapse at sea. And I think I'm killing my video because of doing this. I don't know, but check and do the search for this. 30 days time lapse at sea, 4K through thunderstorms. It's really cool. I can't play it for some reason. So, let's see what's going on. Anyway, so if you haven't seen it, it's really cool. It's got, he stops in ports and does all sorts of really interesting things. Yes, yes, it's very popular. It's gotten an amazing number of views very quickly because it's so cool. Since it was all reverb last week, what's anybody think about the East-West Spaces reverb? I don't know the East-West Spaces reverb, so that would be interesting. Have to look into that. There's so many different reverbs out there. So there's two things I wanted to cover today. Obviously going through the new library that comes out next week on, I believe Friday is the release date. I've got a lot to do between, I got the owner's manual and all sorts of things to write. So I will show this to you in a bit. I think we'll try to do the tricky thing now. This will be tricky because it's using a different application, and I think I figured out how to get it to work and sound. So let's do this first. This is Rack. Say hello to Rack. This is a modular synthesizer in software form. And if I go over here and I set this to universal audio, you're going to hear double my voice. Ooh, that's bad. Let's see. Oh, that's a lot of latency. Interesting reverb by Oracle by Sunspot 2. Okay. Do you hear a double of my voice? Because I want you to hear the modular, but I don't want you to hear a double of my voice. Let's see, maybe if I'm not sure how to make it not double. Do you hear a double? I just need to hear feedback from people. No double. Okay, so I hear the double, but you don't. Okay, do you hear the modular synth? You hear the synth, yes? Okay. So, I have a double of my voice, so. Okay. So this is a modular synth emulator, and it's pretty accurate from what I can tell and how I've used it. I haven't used it a ton yet, but I thought I'd take a moment to share with you why people like modulars and let you know you can download this and play with it yourself. It's a free download from VCVRack.com, and you register and you sign in, and they have a really nice website. And once you have registered, you can download the Audible Instruments modules, all of these, the E series, the Bifacto, and they're adding more. So by adding those, it downloads them so I can right click, and now I have access to all these different modules. It's really awesome. So you can study and see what a modular synth, basically its operation works, and see if it's something you want to do before you invest in buying hardware. It's really convenient. So I'm going to give you just the basics of what a modular synthesizer does. I am not a modular guru. I am learning like everybody else. So if I make mistakes, I'm just saying ahead of time, this is not my forte. I use most of my modular is tone modules, different synthesizer oscillators from different companies that work in a different way. So I can use that as a farm to make sounds that I turn into samples that I use elsewhere. I'm going to use it for music later this year and next year as well for my own songwriting. But the main focus was on really cool oscillators that make unique sounds that I can use to make sounds to get to you guys. So that's kind of the background. The synth is mono. It's only on the left channel. If I want, I could shoot to the right channel. But it's a single source because it's a mono synth. And I'm not sure if I have a mixer. So here we go. So we could go in one. And then have this go out 1 and 2. I don't know if it works that way or not. No. So you're just gonna have to hear it in one ear. Be okay with it, okay? Because that's basically how your modular synthesizer works. So realize this: when you're working with oscillators, they are sitting there making sound the whole time. In software, you think might differently, but with samples, you play a note and it starts playing a sample from the beginning. With synthesis, it's repeating the waveform all the time. So if I actually, I think there's a scope. So if I have the volume up, I need a splitter is what I need. Maybe someone can tell me. But basically the way that it works is that you have the different components. When you're looking at a synthesizer like, let's call it Omnisphere real quick. Or a hardware synthesizer where you have these sections that have, your oscillators, your filters, your envelopes, modulation sources being your LFOs right here, okay? When you get to a modular synth, those become separate boxes, elements. So I'm gonna get rid of this mixer because I don't need it at the moment. I'm gonna take the VCO and I'm gonna run it into a filter. So let's say we want to have the sawtooth wave go to the input, and then the low pass filter goes out. And I do want a mixer because I can make it softer. So let's go over here and add a mixer. Where was the mixer? Oh, the de facto mixer. That'll work. Low pass filter into 1. And then the output to here. Okay. So you bring it resonance just like on a... Now, if I want to add other things to this, I could... Well, let's try a different filter. I think that there's... let's see... Who else has a filter here? Slew limiter. No, that's not it. Let's just play for a minute. So if we wanted to control the cutoff, which is right here, go up here, let's add a sequence. And by taking the output of row 1 to here, Let's get these up and dancing around a little bit. So you have the ability to have things control elements. Okay. So this is, I'm not going to get super deep in this, but I want you guys to be aware of this. And if you're thinking of buying a modular synthesizer, this is a great place to play around, see what these do. Let's go down here and add the cloud generator. I have one of these. And actually this is inside of Del Norte. So if we say the square saw out, I should put this into 2. What this does is really cool. It's a unison. And you can choose 8, 2, 4, or 8 voices. And I could take row 2 and bring this into the octave in. This is for pitch. You know, so you get all sorts of easy blippy stuff happening very quickly. Let's take this output instead of going to here. Here's a resonator, that's a frequency kind of thing. So let's see if we go into this, into the in. We go odd. So you can play, like, the things you can do with these it's really inspiring. It's fun. They have the ability, they have as well a MIDI interface. So you could choose from your MIDI system. I'm using the Chord Control 49. So I could say MIDI in. I could assign then to the 1 octave to right here. I'd have to take that out. And then I could control the sound of it with keyboards. And you can build, and then you can go to File, and you can save as modular synth configurations that do all sorts of crazy things. So this is a free app for PC, Mac, or Linux. It's really awesome. You guys are having your own nice discussion. Oh, we're talking to Scott. Hey, John, giving out a shout out from here in Houston. Oh, Scott. Wow, dude. These hurricanes were crazy that hit you guys. Steinways in our showroom survived. Thank goodness. Wow. Yes, this is a fun playground to experiment. If you've never, it's expensive to get into modulars. They're not cheap. So it's a really cool way to get into playing with modular synthesizers. So I want to make you guys aware of this. Register. You can go to their website then and you can choose which of these, and they're going to be growing. I do know also that I believe his name is Andrew Belt, is also going to be adding yeah, there's the plans right here. I saw somewhere a minute ago. I saw. In the future, you'll be able to connect your DAW to the bridge rack, to the rack bridge, which is a VST audio unit. So that way there will be an audio unit plugin to connect to the app to control it. So all sorts of cool things are going on. So make sure you go to VCR or VCVRack.com. Here's where you download. The source is there. It's a really cool thing that they're doing to make modulars available to play with. And they sound pretty good. I haven't done A/B tests with the actual things, but the cloud generator sounds really good. If you want to hear the cloud generator in Del Norte, it's right here. If we go to the patches, there's going to be both core, wave, and drum coming. But if we go here to the core synth, there's the saw unison 2. That's the 2 voice. Four voice, and then the 8 voice unison mono. Really nice. Comes out really nice. So let me do this. I hadn't done this morning. I was getting audio working so I could make sure that I had rack working. I need to do an update. I've made some new patches and I want to make sure they show up. So this is how you do the quick browser. If you right click, it shows up. I'm going to have Del Norte disappear because this is not dynamic. In other words, if you add things to your patch library like I'm doing, if you're adding things, if you add edits to patches and resave them and stuff, it doesn't update in the quick load. So you have to delete it, come over here, and I'll show you real quickly. Here's the folder. So there'll be Del Norte K5, and then inside of here will be what's called the instruments. And I'm just going to call it Del Norte K5 instruments because that way when you click and drag it over here, it's automatically renamed. Or not renamed, but it's named to not just, you know, in most Kontakt 5 instruments libraries, their folder is called instruments. And so this one will be called Del Norte K5 instruments. And by doing that, takes it a minute, it will search and find all of the patches and make them available. So that way when I'm previewing it, I'm previewing a newer, I'm as up to date as I've got. Yes, it's very cool software. It's nice. You know, modulars get really expensive really It's thousands of dollars over here in Maxwell. And I'm really happy to have him. I really enjoy having that as a resource. But before you spend that much money, now you can play with it and experiment and so forth. So that's really nice. So these are the categories at the moment. And there's also, as you see, 3 different core starting patches. Init patches. They're supposed to show up at the top of the list, but I don't know why, but they're not. So I'll figure out what we're doing there. But I'm not. This is not done. It's going to be done in a week, but it's far enough along to show. So basically, there's going to be 3 derivatives that are going to be used. All the guys I've had Airwave. I've had this. My graphic artist that did this interface is actually a really talented gentleman that lives. I believe it's in Poland. I checked the, yeah, I think Poland, Matt Chowski. And he did patches, and Kid Anthem was able to do some patches. So there's a fairly decent plethora of patches, and then there will be more. I'm aiming at 400 patches, just so you know. There's a lot of basses, drones. There's 3 different types of BPM pulsing stuff, and I'll show you those. That has to do also with, and I have this bug that shows up. It's so frustrating. It likes to do that sometimes. So there's a start init, which will be just the start with the basic. And the layout, I'm getting crispy audio. So the layout is that there's an attack oscillator and there's a body oscillator. And I went over through some of the parameters a couple weeks ago, I believe. So I'm going to summarize it. We're going to do one more big walkthrough when it's all done, but I'll do that as not as a live stream. I'll mention it and I'll show some of it at the live stream, but I'm not going to spend the whole live stream showing the library again. This is kind of like the preview of the library, so I'll cover it here. But here's all the attack elements and all the wind and the attack samples that are so cool. And then I added the synth waveforms at the end, including right there's the cloud, my unison cloud generator, right down here for the 2, 4, and 8 voice. And I put them there so that you could use these, which are the virus sounds that I've created, and then also layer a synth sound instead of just an attack sound. So you can make it a 2 oscillator synth in some regards. There's really fun parameters here. I don't want to get, I guess I'm trying to figure out if I want to be too specific and stuff. It's going to be very different from Del Norte for Omnisphere. I have a question from Bernie asking, how different is this from Omnisphere? Omnisphere is a whole different beast. I'm not really referencing one or the other. If we were to play, let's do this. Let's go through some of the patches here so you can hear. I want to say this is simpler. It's more direct. The attack is a very different beast inside of Kontakt. The thing that's really cool is glitch. I talked about this last week where you can take a note like this and you turn on glitch. And it can do stereo left, right, re-triggering of as many repeats as you want. And you can do that to do some really cool things. So here's a couple of the patches that I've done. There's nothing in Omnisphere to compare to this glitch tool. In fact, I can't think of another synthesizer I can go to that will do this. It's truly unique to this Kontakt 5 instrument, as far as I know, for synthesizers. So a couple of others of these. Forever Your Glitch. It's a really cool, unique sound. Because it's MIDI note regeneration where you have control. That's something you can't get in Omnisphere. And I'm not going to charge a premium. This will be another $49 library. So that my goal is to make lots of libraries and make them all affordable. So making it a $99 library that only a fraction of you guys buy, that's not how I operate. I want more people to be able to enjoy these libraries. So I'm doing all this work. Here's Smokey in here. This is for hip hop. Like, there's a There's a hip-hop song where I took that idea from, which was really cool. Unicorns at Play. So there's stuff like that. The drums are insane. Airwave made all sorts of claps and hi-hats and stuff. There's pads galore, just really beautiful pads. I mean, The filters are really nice. But if we were to compare this, where is it? Omnisphere. Let's go to Del Norte. Where are you? Let's go to some of the RP kind of things. They each have their own strengths. There's a purity to the sound of Omnisphere that is just really cool. Right? But there's a whole different vibe to if we go to the pads. This is one of the Kid Anthem ones I want to work on in a bit. We're going to do a master class going through and further refining patches. And some of the unique sound comes because of right here. The convolution reverbs are really cool. Here's without them. So by adding these, the cathedral. This is the, he used the corrupt long, which and then delays. It's very different. It's a whole different universe using the same samples. So let's see, pass the Kid Anthem stuff for the moment. It's nice. But I find it sounds a little bit more like what you expect to kind of hear on the radio from what I've found so far. The pluck stuff here is really amazingly nice. Oh, it's somebody's. I'd almost say it's inferior in audio, but I'd just say it's different. Yeah, $49. I'll be selling this for $49. And I organized it differently. In Omnisphere, it's really hard to find things to modify and edit, just as far as the waveforms, because they're named by the unique names. And I was able with this to talk to Aaron, my script designer, and say, Aaron, is there a way I could group these by what they are? And so what we did is I made him the list, and then he made it look like this. So that all the, if we go to the init patch, and we turn off the attack. So these are all the unisons. Let's get the attack. And if the attack is slowing the sample, moving the sample start. But these are all the unisons. You get to the Lost Coast. And this is using more samples than the Omnisphere version. The Omnisphere version, the only way to get samples and multi-samples was to go to multi-mode, to be like this. And if we go to, say, this is Lost Coast. So if we go to Lost Coast, I think I did this as a synth because it's simple. So it loads it up so I can. Now if I want to change the filter on this multi, I have to edit all 7 patches one at a time. That's just the layout. And if you go to the patch version where it's just a single sample across the whole keyboard, let's do it this way. If we go solo, like solo C3, and go here to this one and make it go across the whole keyboard, a single sample, right? So you have those two things against you in Omnisphere because it doesn't have the ability to map samples in the same way that I can do here. For the year, if we go mapping and we go down to Lost Coast, those are all the single hits, and we go to Lost Coast L, Lost Coast simple, right here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 samples used for this. And if I want to filter it, it's right here. So I can make this a slow attack, long release, with these incredible unison. So that's one of the big benefits of the Kontakt version is I'm doing tricks to get multi-samples to play inside of Omnisphere. And here it's a sample player. It's made to design to be hundreds of samples across the keyboard if you wanted. I'm only using 12, but it sounds better than 7, and you have control of filtering. I could go bright, and then go up here. And I just changed basically what would be 12 patches in Omnisphere, but Omnisphere only can play 7. Like that. So the immediacy of having multi-sampled maps of these beautiful sounds and being able to do this to them is the benefit of the Kontakt 5 version. You can't do that in Omnisphere. I can't go to a 7 sampled thing and change it to being a dark pad without having an awful lot of work ahead of me to do it to 7 different patches and remap this. I mean, it's just a nightmare. So if you want to play these sounds, this is the easiest way to do it. So here's all of the unison sounds. And this is, I'm going to put it to the stereo so it's not going through any limiting on the, there's a trick inside I'll show you in a little bit. Okay, then right here are all the pure sounds. There's dry, and then there's the wet version, which has that motion kind of in the sounds. Nasika is a more pure. And because there's more samples, it just means there's more ear candy as you play these keys, because there's more samples playing. And each sample has its own left and right imaging stuff going on, which is really cool. Okay, and then the wet ones typically are there so that you can make more of the pad elements with them. If you it's just really awesome with no effects. No effects, make sure all the effects are off. If you go to the dry version, it's a little bit more in your face. Okay, so all those are, now the complex is where we get into more the complex things happening. I mean, gives me goosebumps playing him. Okay, so you have all of those. Shady Cove. And these are just the raw waveforms with no programming assigned to them. Then after complex, you get waveform-ish, which is the stuff from the virus that was getting closer to the pure waveforms from my modular synthesizer, which are right here. So as you see, we go from the unison buzzy to pure, to complex, to more simplified waveform-ish. You know, these types of... They're not a simple single cycle waveform yet. It's kind of organ-ish, but there's motion in it. Slightly detuning sine. And then the place where this totally takes off and is like, there's none of this inside of Omnisphere at all, are these synthesized. Add some more velocity and what the reason behind this was Omnisphere has inside of each patch the ability to be a synth with these simple waveforms or go to the samples. With Kontakt, I realized I only had down to waveformish. I didn't have simple waveforms, which are so useful for layering, thickening things. And so I spent a couple days with my modular synth and I recorded all of these, mapped them out, looped them all. Next week, I have a video. It's taken a long time to edit because there's a lot of information. I make something from the modular and I show you the process of making single cycle loops inside of a sample editor. It's a lot of work. Good. I knocking people out. So that's cute. The synth, just so you know, the SAW DSP is a waveform from a software synth inside of your computer. I can't tell you which synth it is. The modular is from one of my modules. So there's the perfected synth DSP. And then the modular just is so raw. And if you want to do like, I mean, I love all the dead mouse. If you try that, I don't know why, but if you do that with the perfected, because the samples are not perfectly tuned. I have them tuned in a way that I like. And it's kind of like by vibe. I'm not like trying to make it perfect. And so if you compare this to perfect tuning, check this out. This is really interesting. Where is this? Go here. Compare that to I mean, it's alive. You could write all sorts of happy, dancey, minimal chip tunes with all of these kind of sounds, and it's not perfect tuning. If you want to, I'm going to do a video showing tuning, because if you need it, you have a low, I have a low disturbing, is the rack modular still playing? No, the rack has been turned off from the system, I believe. I'll quit it there altogether, but the low running might just be the sound of my computer over here. Oh, it was? Did the rebelling go away? Is the sound gone? Is the rumbling? Okay, maybe it was the modular synth was running in the background. I apologize. Oh, because what I hear versus what you guys hear is a little bit different. And so, good. I am so sorry. That's going to be embarrassing to hear. So, oh, I love live streams. So I got to do this whole thing all over again, right? But now it's quiet. So you can... Now, I will be putting these samples... a lot of companies don't do this, and they don't, but I don't care. I'm going to be making a future library with these and probably a bunch more that I make from my modular. So as like a chiptune library for Omnisphere. So they will show up. They're not going to go into the Del Norte version of Omnisphere. That is done. I don't want to go back and disturb that and change what it is, because it's really special how it is. And I want these to be separate enough and different enough that you want to have both. You want to own this version. So here's some of the other sounds. Let's just go through sounds for a bit. It uses a lot of CPU, unfortunately. Because of the fact that I have 2 convolution reverbs in the delay and all these effects, you can get to where I think it's maybe using a little more at times than Omnisphere. Yes, I'm glad you guys can help with the live stream too. I need to do some tests. I haven't done a lot of tests yet and stuff to see. You know what? I'm gonna do this. So I haven't played with these. So let's do this. We're gonna do a batch resave live. This is what resave does. Like, you see how I'm getting these error messages, because Matt Chowsky, when he sent this to me, where has his music stuff, that's the name of the folder, right? Well, I have them somewhere else. So I have to say search Spotlight. And some of these are definitely cool in a weird way. But I don't want to have that error message. So if you get that error message, you go batch resave. Yes. You go over here to, I don't think you guys should see all my directories, so I'm going to hide it for a second. So we go shared to Del Norte, not the EXS, but so here is the Del Norte folder, and I select the K5 instruments and say open. It does a quick check, and it's going to notice that there's samples that are not connected properly to the patches, and it's going to pop up a message. And I say keep search mode and selected folders for the current session. And I don't know if that is inside of the PC version, because there's no Spotlight inside of PC. But you can say search the file system, and it will search, it will find them, and then it will rename and save everything. So it's doing that. I want to give props to my friend Jeff, who is in Florida working with the Red Cross. He lives in California, and he's been sharing on Facebook what he's been doing, and it's just amazing just to realize that an entire state, the width of the state, top to bottom, has been hit by a hurricane, and everybody's out of power and very little water and all that stuff. And so now modulation is a good question. It's simpler by far. Omnisphere, it's very easy to have many parameters changing the sound. Here you don't have that. It's not easy to do that. In fact, it's I have kind of in a preset set up the modulation wheel to the filter cutoff, and I'll be doing a video, and maybe we'll do it here in a minute. I'll talk about it once it gets done with this. But to go through and to set up modulations is a little challenging. The interface underneath the skin, I wanted to keep the skin simple, so I didn't put LFOs. As I was talking about, there's the 3 different init starts. One of them says ARP, and that has an arpeggiator built into the patch, but the normal one doesn't have the arpeggiator built into the patch. Automating the knobs in a DAW are pretty easy. You need to register it, just like in Omnisphere. I'll show you how to do that. So as you can see, there's a lot of patches already. So we've got a lot. I'm aiming at 400 by next Friday. So we got a ways to go. We're at over 200, I believe, right now. But there's also my assistant, Taylor Harris, is doing separate patches for every one of the attack samples. So that's 130 patches. And then I'm going to make another like 100 plus more patches. I have some really great reference music that I've been listening to that it's like, oh, I need to make that sound. I need to make that sound. I need to make that sound. So lots of inspiration for finding and making sounds. Hey, we're at Plux. Okay, we're getting there. We still got synth and then core and then we're done. So it's almost done. Now we're in synth. I'm letting everybody keep their initials at the end of the name. I should have done this before the live stream. I'm sorry. But hey, here we are. Oh, let's do a shout. What music is everybody listening to at the moment? What kind of artists? Who are you guys listening to? I'll tell you something I've been listening to. They have a new album out that's very much in what this library is about. And that is Galantis. This is a good album. So if you want some inspiration, the Aviary from Galantis, it's not bad. It's poppy EDM stuff, but all the plucks and stuff that I need to make, they're all great ideas inside there. There's some other albums that I've been enjoying a lot lately. Nowhere, of course, is just, I love Nowhere. And their new album is great. I'm going to be seeing Goldfrapp pretty soon. Their album, oh, Bella Flack, yeah. Dua Lipa, Dualipa. Cool. Wardruna, Wardruna. I want to check that out too. I always save the live stream and do searches on Spotify for what you guys say. So thank you for sharing. So like I said, there's the start init. There's also the ARP init. Okay. And what this has is when you hit the tool wrench in the top left corner, you've now dived under the skin of Kontakt 5, and now you're into the engine, the synth engine. And we have the script that was written. It's a factory script. It's not our own custom script, but it's very robust as far as to velocities, the order for the arpeggiator that's got all sorts of nice options, octaves, and the number of strikes, duration, all that stuff. And then starting here is where you start the engine of Kontakt Omnisphere. I've said Omnisphere way too much. Of Kontakt. And you have these, it's really interesting, these first three are instrument, the synth effects. Here's your insert effects. And the way that that's tied in is to right here. If you have this on the insert effects chain, then this chain is active. So, okay. If I go up here and I say instead to stereo, it bypasses this and just goes to the stereo output. Okay. So depending on the sound that you want, this allows you to just use these effects that are here. There's a compressor here, so I can. Right? The punch, all that stuff is here, but I have an insert effect chain to give you an additional layer of effects to play with, and slight limiting and slight compression on the output just to keep it from not overdriving and blowing up. Enigma, Saga. I love Saga. Grew up on Saga. Their albums came out when I was a kid, and I still enjoy. I have 2 or 3 of their records on my record player systems downstairs. Good stuff. Oh, Wardruna is Nordic Viking sound. It's real intense. Wow. And then there's modulation, and then right here's your filter. So if you wanted to, let's say that we're playing this. Let's do this. Let's not make it. Let's turn off the ARP. Right? So if I wanted to modulate the pitch, how would we do that? Here's tune. So to the left of tune, there's a mod button. Here's where pitch bend is set, and it's currently set to 12 semitones. You can change it to be 2 semitones or whatever you want. And if you sit add modulator, you could say LFO, and you choose what shape you want. Takes it a minute. And now if you want to see the parameters, they have this little box you click, and it will take you immediately down to the modulation list. And this modulation list contains envelopes as well as LFOs. And Kontakt 5's LFOs are very basic. And when you click things, you have to realize, in order to get this to work, I had to make it so that it's actually got all of these programs running all at the same time, basically, but only playing one of them, but it applies the parameters to all of them, all the groups in some way. I'm not sure how Aaron is doing it. My nose itches. But when you change something, it does take some time. If I want to change from random to a triangle waveform, it takes it a little while for it to update. So if you want to try to get in under the skin deeper than the layer of what you have here to work with, which is quite a bit, it's not the best. It's not the best programming experience compared to Omnisphere, that's for sure. And then retrigger is just another script that's part of the factory script that just does a retrigger. And you can use it for all sorts of cool dancey. So if I wanted to show, I think I have some examples of that already. You know, you can do that with the ARP too, but I liked how the retrigger just, it's the same all the time. It's very, but you can do that with the ARP start as well. If you go to the Arpeggiator and you change it to be chord, you can just do no octaves. And I believe here I could have it so that yeah, I might get rid of retrigger. Because you can do it here. So you can do things like that here as well and control the velocity, which is nice. Now, if you want the velocity to be more drastic, then you'd go over here to your velocity on the amp. And you can control the range of control. Here's none to lots. Is there an obvious reason Kontakt seems to play sounds softer compared to other plugins and DAWs? I might have this soft just now. My volume here is set. Now these are not finalized. So part of the finalizing process that I'm going to cover in a minute with you guys when going through patches is you play a sound, and this is the init, so it's not finalized. But if we were to go to ARP, to this. This should be more finalized and louder. And here's where you would have this, your mixer set up. And I can see that I could probably have more volume. So I could set it louder. That's more like where it should be as finalized. So go to this. I always clean this up to make all this look better. So make the mod go away. Oh, this has the, so we go back here. There, I want it to look like that. And then hit the save button. And go to the next one. Now this is another one where it seems a little soft. So again, there's tons of room for volume. It's just matter, it's the voicing. Okay, that's how I want it. So once again, I need to be on the Arpeggiator script, look like that, save. It's every one of them has to be looking nice. So again, I'm looking at my volumes. Make sure the interface is how I want it. And then hit save. And it updates it. So that what that means is that the next time that you call up Snappy Ghostly and you hit this, it looks all nice and pretty. If I saved it with this all open like this, next time you came to it, it would look like this. If you've ever hit the tool wrench on other libraries, a lot of times they don't do that step, but I like to clean it up. Let's see what everybody's talking about. I like the retrigger patch you showed at the start. Please don't get rid of it. Okay, I will not. I will keep it. Are all the knobs automatable? Yes. So all you have to do for automation is go host automation, click this, and then select what knob you want it to be, and then it's registered. And so you do that, and then it's set up. So yes, you can go to here to filter. So I could go like that to filter, right? This is one where I have the filter being bypassed on the attack. This is one of the, because if I didn't have this, it'd all be dark. But I want to have something dark. So if I have to sequence this, okay, so I sequence that in and quantize to make sure I play it in time. Repeat it. Turn on automation to latch. And it's in. So cool, okay. So we actually don't even need to see that section anymore, per se. Let me go through more sounds. There's just so many cool sounds here. Let's see, replace. All right, so we're finalizing. We're doing this together. Ready? Let me zoom in the display a little bit. I see that it's out a bit, so. Let's go to here and zoom in. So that way this fits into the display like that. And I'll crank this up and over here so you can see this. The important thing when you're finalizing is the volumes of the sound. And the important thing for me is that the sound matches the name. And some of these guys are new guys. Kid Anthem was having a rough week. He said, please go through my patches and do what you want to. Because I always go through and finalize to. It's kind of the process. I have a handful of guys that work on these. And they'll get them to a certain point. But there's... I don't want to say anything too much, but I know what to do to finalize them. Let's just say that, okay? So this, first of all, needs to be down in pitch. So let's take it. Maybe even an octave lower. Oh, wait. Let's do it here because he has this tuned all the way down. He's got the unison. A little bit too much effects for me. And it's a little soft. Maybe a little bit louder. Cool. So let's hit the little exploder button and hit save, and it's updated. Okay. These are patches I've made that are finalized already. Louder, right? So now this is using an interesting trick. Most of these have the voice polyphony at max, like 128, just so you don't have cutouts. But this I have it set at 2. There is no legato mode that I know of. But by limiting the polyphony, we do a trick to get it to where we have the sample start offset. Aaron uses 2 voices to do that. So there's some trickiness to get this to work. I mean, if you look right here, you can see that I'm not sure what all is additionally happening with the CPU. If Omnisphere was out of here, I think that would be less. Yeah, a lot less. So when I play, it still uses a lot of CPU. Not a lot, but there's a lot happening. Let me save that. Jeffrey Johnson, does anybody here know the best controller to start out? The Akai's are great. The new native instrument one that came out, the Mark II, is great. Any keyboard can be a good controller. It just depends on what kind of controls you want to have attached to it. Let's set this to 2 voices and see. And it needs 4 since it's both oscillators. Alright. Save. I'm okay with a pitchy G. Here's your pitchy G. Maybe a little less pitchy G. Be louder. I want more velocity. Here's your velocity controls for amp, filter, and decay. That'd be cool. Now you can't. This decays to the amp, and so he's got a short decay on the filter. I just don't want to use them out. Ah. Set this to 4 voices again. And this is using, I think, Slinky. Yeah, Skagzilla. Hear that? The tone verb has all these really unique, kind of unusual things. Filter chomp. There's even down here chords and stuff. If you're playing the key of F sharp, here's key of C for this. You play other notes. So there's all sorts of band hits up here. Hear that orchestra hit? That's in the reverb. So that's what kind of makes the tone verb kind of unique in this. There's a lot of unique personality to the library, which is what it's all about to me. So. All right, I'll come back to basses. I want to go to something else. Here's bells. I think I've only... We'll make a lot of bells because the stuff in here is great for bells. That's fine. I showed you the arps, chords. Kid Anthem did those. I'm gonna, well. That's cool. Very useful. Minimal. Bass is to 7. I think it should just be a bass. Oh. Yeah, that would go into the bass folder. There's a little bit of a fifth. But it's filtered so dark. I'd rather have that in the bass because you play it like a bass. Now here's an example of a patch where I do a lot of this stuff where I play the top and I play the lower, and it's not useful down low. It sounds bad. So in that case, I should transpose it up an octave. Okay. This is one of those where I kind of want to have a groove playing to listen to it. But that's closer. See how it fits in the mix with the drums playing. It's really important to have that element when you're working on sounds. If you're making sounds just by themselves, it's really hard to know, and speakers too. That's why I can't wait to try out the 64 audio earbuds. In-ear monitors, not earbuds. The AFD knobs over here are my velocity controls. A is amplitude velocity sensitivity, F is filter, and D is decay. So if we were to take like a lead sound. Okay, so amp. Filter is very important here. And then the decay is cool. If I was to have this be a... Then decay, when I play short and soft velocities, it's really short. I actually should save it that way. So let's save it that way, because it's more cool that way. This interface started as super modular drums. This is basically that same idea of the same 6 effects in the middle, although we've modified glitch a little bit compared to where it was. So this used to be what was useful for hi-hats, to make that. It's have hi-hats, so you play soft velocities and you play harder and they get longer decay. But it's cool for synth sounds too. Okay, so keep asking questions if you have. Decay to amp, yes. Yeah, and if you want to change to the daft filter, it's really nice for this type. But I think it was the AR. I can't remember what I had as the original now. No. But look at how they each have such different personality. I might have had a bandpass. Let's see, let's just call it up again, because... yeah, bandpass. So if we go to the daft bandpass, there is no daft bandpass. Okay. Keys, we've got some good stuff happening here for the, there'll be a lot more, but because of that breathy element, and I can use the key tracking to limit, so it's just a little bit. It would normally be, but by limiting the key track to pitch, now it's like only an octave or 2 across the whole keyboard instead of 4. So when you layer that with the sound, if it's down too low, that's kind of nice that way too. Okay? And here's where the cool trick is the opposite. The filter is being used to control the breath. But it's not being used to control the sound, because I have these dark, pure, and these waveformish sounds that have a nice, more pure tone. Like if I was to use... tune this down an octave and tune it up an octave here. can do some nice things between this pitch and then the tuning of up and down an octave in the two oscillators to get the relationship to be a 2-octave range or more. Could you show us some more ARPs? Oh, ARPs. Okay. Now just realize this is something that I just got the ARP. We did this yesterday, the retrigger ARP patch happening. So I have like 50 ARP patches to make. So that's the init that we'll call up, and that might change. I'm not totally sure, but the ARP patches I currently have really nice. And this is using the ARP where I have a break. Oh, let's see, we need to be on the ARP page. See, I have this break right here and there. So let's save it that way. And the nice thing is you just go here, say I want to be like a spacey. $50 is a good start, but don't limit yourself. I won't. Alright, here's the other ARPs. This is using the lo-fi without it. And this is using the Sine Spacey, which has a bit more of a noisy element to it. If you change to the Sine, and I should point out, check this out. So these synth waveforms are even more samples across the keyboard. If you go to the mapping editor to the synth waveforms down here, to the mod chips and stuff, there's across the entire range much more samples. I think there's like 15 samples. So it's really coming out nicely. I really like the vibe of this library a lot. It's very fun. You know, each one's different. They each have their own little strengths and stuff. This has a really cool current. It's got this. It's really easy to change the attack element. If you want to move the sample start in, the pitch EG is incredible. Go to the reverb, add like 13 mega long, 13-second reverb. Check this out. Isn't that cool? Oh, and he's got the high pass filter up. Okay, so there's stuff like that that's so easy to do. Snappy Ghostly. And I think there's one more. Take me to your leader. This should have more delay. But I'll get out my Tangerine Dream albums, all that kind of stuff, and have a lot of fun. All right, we're about to wrap up. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to show you. If any of you guys that are doing stuff in your studios, I've got a couple things that you should just, I don't know if these are helpful or not, but I recorded this morning. Let's see here, call this up. I have stairs, and a lot of you have stairs, and I found these on Amazon, and they're great. It's motion sensors on the stairs, so here is something of interest. These are motion sensors. Oh, it's not gonna play. It played earlier. Don't do this. Let's see. If I go like here, will it play? Here we go. So here is something of interest. These are motion sensor lights. So as I walk upstairs, these lights come on. So I can see where I am. Because there's no light
and the stairs are now
in this base in the stairs up to my second floor.
Extremely cool.
And so those 3 lights are awesome. They're inexpensive. They attach. They use 4 AA batteries, and they last like 6 months. So if you need stairs, if you need lights, don't fall and hurt yourself in the stairs. Another thing that's really cool is, here's my room. These racks. I want to talk to you guys about these real quick. They lock in place. You can unlock them. They're really nice. And so I have 3 of them. They're heavy duty. I'll try to put links in the video for this after we're done so that you can know where to go to find these types of racks. But if you have rack space, nothing in them, but you've got lots of different keyboards and modules and drum machines and stuff that you wish you could just tuck away, it's awesome for that. It's really great. So I wanted to share those 2 little studio things I've found to be really useful. Thank you for joining me for an interesting live stream. I hope this was useful. Yes, we like that's the little mini brute. It's great. Someday maybe a matrix brute too, but who knows. But thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful. This coming Friday, Del Norte EDM will be out. So I will let you guys know when it's available. I'm really excited for that. Yes, I'll give the links because gotta have places like that. All right. So thank you for joining me. You guys rock. You're awesome customers. I appreciate all this. It's going to be a great library. It's really cool. All right. So I'll talk to you later. Thanks again for joining me.